Lemon Nation. I'm Tara Setmayer. Welcome to this week's Setmayer Sound Off. So, if tanking the world economy, bankrupting small businesses, and wiping out people's hard-earned retirement savings with this reckless tariff tantrum isn't enough insanity this week, Trump is now targeting American citizens for his latest retribution rampage. Have you heard the latest? Let me explain. So Trump isn't just coming for his political opponents anymore. He's targeting private citizens, lawyers, judges, journalists, and now former Trump officials who dared to defy him. Headline in the Washington Post: Trump directs Justice Department to probe officials who opposed him in the first term. Donald Trump on Wednesday signed sweeping presidential memorandums targeting two former government officials who opposed his actions in his first term, his latest effort to use the powers of the presidency to punish people, institutions that have challenged him. Well, introduce Miles Taylor and Chris Krebs. Their crime? Oh, just telling the truth. Miles Taylor was a senior DHS official under Donald Trump. Actually, he was the chief of staff for the Secretary of Homeland Security in the first term. And he saw what was going on very early on in Trump's first administration. And he was freaking horrified by the ignorance, the cruelty, the lawlessness, all of it. He's the one who revealed how Trump wanted to build a moat around the border wall with alligators and shit in it. Remember that? And then he wanted to add spikes to the border fence so it would impale people who tried to climb it. I'm not making this up. This is the truth. So Miles warned America from the inside, and then he wrote a book under the pseudonym Anonymous after he left the administration. He also wrote a New York Times op-ed under the same moniker. He emphasized that Trump was a danger to our democracy. Now, he did what any patriot should do. He spoke out. And now here we are years later, and he's facing targeted retaliation by Donald Trump. Chris Krebs, same thing. He oversaw election security during the 2020 campaign. He told the public that there was no evidence of fraud in 2020 because there wasn't. He said it was the most secure election in history because it was. So Trump fires him on Twitter and then smears him relentlessly for just doing his job. In 2020, Krebs wrote, quote, "The election should be celebrated by all Americans, not undermined in the service of a profoundly un-American goal." That same month, he also sued Trump's campaign and one of its lawyers for defamation. In the Oval Office on Wednesday, Trump then repeats this election BS lie, saying, quote, "We'll find out whether or not it was a safe election. And if it wasn't, he, Krebs, is going to pay a big price." What the fuck? So Trump is using his executive power now to investigate these guys and then threatening them and doing God knows what else. For what? For being not loyal enough? Because they dared to tell the truth about Trump and what he was doing and the illegality of his actions? This isn't personal. This is political persecution. This is what dictators do. But folks, it doesn't stop there. Trump isn't just going after public servants. You may have heard by now that he's targeting lawyers and law firms, particularly those that represent his political opponents. Yes, lawyers for doing their job legally. Now, according to recent reporting, multiple law firms have faced intimidation, threats, and economic pressure after representing clients in cases related to Trump's criminal conduct. Now, in some cases, these firms have capitulated to the tunes of tens of millions of dollars in pro bono work to represent the Trump administration's interests in exchange for being spared from dear leader's wrath. This is not a good look. Also, just this week, a Dearborn, Michigan lawyer who represented a pro-Palestinian protester was stopped and detained at the Detroit airport. This is upon returning from the Dominican Republic for a spring break vacation with his family. According to the Detroit Free Press, he was questioned about his clients and asked to give up his phone. Quote, What followed was a 90-minute back-and-forth verbal tussle between Markland and two federal agents who, he said, ultimately released him without taking his phone, but looked at his contacts list instead. For the 38-year-old civil rights and criminal defense attorney, it was a daunting experience that he says highlights a troubling phenomenon that's occurring across the United States. Lawyers are getting targeted for handling issues the administration of Donald Trump disagrees with. This is fucking outrageous. Outrageous. So let's be very clear here. If lawyers fear representing clients who stand up to power, what does that say about our justice system? I don't know. I think it's important to understand that every authoritarian regime begins by neutralizing independent lawyers and judges. Don't believe me? Ask Russia. Ask Hungary. Ask Venezuela. Ask Germany, World War II. The second people can no longer get fair legal representation, we're in big trouble. That's why all of this matters. Trump has already tried to destroy the DOJ, stack the courts with loyalists, intimidate judges, and smear prosecutors. We've already seen this. And now he's coming for private practice law firms. Pay attention, America. No one is safe if the law can't stand up to a tyrant. Now, it doesn't end there. This is all part of a larger theme happening. I don't know if you saw this week, but earlier this week, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt stood at the podium and casually floated the idea that Trump is considering deporting American citizens. How does that work? Not sure. Take a listen.
Over the weekend, President Trump said that he would be willing to have U.S. citizens deported to El Salvador with the cooperation of President Bukele. How would that work legally, and how many people would potentially be available for that operation?
So the president has discussed this idea quite a few times publicly. He's also discussed it privately. You're referring to the president's idea for American citizens to potentially be deported. These would be heinous, violent criminals who have broken our nation's laws repeatedly. And these are violent, repeat offenders in American streets. The president has said, if it's legal, right? If there is a legal pathway to do that, he's not sure. We are not sure if there is. It's an idea that he has simply floated and has discussed very publicly as in the effort of transparency.
So she actually said out loud on national television what they want to do. Yes, you heard that right. You heard her. We're not talking immigrants. We're talking American citizens now. Let me be very clear. This is blatantly unconstitutional. Period. Full stop. You can't deport American citizens. We're people with the full rights and protections of the Constitution. It's not just illegal. This is authoritarian madness. But here we are. When has any American president threatened to deport his own citizens? It only works if the Constitution doesn't matter anymore. Now, history tells us exactly where all this leads. In Nazi Germany, the regime started with the deportations and restrictions on undesirables. They began with the Jews, then came for political dissidents, people with disabilities, LGBTQ people, the list goes on. First through policies, then through violence, then the Holocaust. This is history. In Stalin's Soviet Union, loyalty wasn't earned, it was demanded. Sound familiar? Stalin had his own people deported, imprisoned, or executed if they fell out of favor or just became inconvenient to him. Fear was the tool to consolidate power. Sound familiar? And Donald Trump? He doesn't just admire this leadership. He just doesn't admire this style. He wants it. Trump has openly said how much he loves this mega prison in El Salvador where tens of thousands of people are detained without trial, without due process. They're locked in the cement warehouses. They're shackled, stripped of all dignity and due process. Trump called this a great example. A great example? Of what exactly? Cruelty? Torture? Fascism? Because that's what it is. It's a fucking gulag. This is where he wants to send Americans?
Well, I love that. If we could take some of our 20-time wise guys that push people into subways and that hit people over the back of the head and that purposely run people over in cars, if he would take them, I'd be honored to give them. I don't know what the law says on that, but I can't imagine the law would say anything different. If they can house these horrible criminals for a lot less money than it costs us, I'm all for it. But I'd only do according to the law. But I have suggested that, why should it stop just at people that cross the border illegally? We have some horrible criminals, American grown and born. And if we have somebody that bops an old woman over the head, if we have somebody that is in jail 20 times and goes back and shoots people all over the place and then has a bad judge or a bad prosecutor that do nothing about him, all they worry about is politics, they don't worry about that. I think if we could get El Salvador or somebody to take them, I'd be very happy with it, but I have to see what the law says.
He's telling us in plain sight what he wants to do. Believe him. Don't be fooled by his throwaway lines about if it's legal, we'll have to follow the law, whatever he said. That's bullshit. Because once people are on foreign soil, our laws and constitution don't apply anymore, and they know it. He knows it. I don't want to hear about, it's more cost effective. Fuck that shit too, okay? No. Our constitutional rights are not up for sale. They aren't some bargaining chip for Trump to use in his perverse, power-obsessed, sicko brain. That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. Now, if you still think this is all just talk from him, you need to look at what he's already done. In his first administration, what did he do? He threatened whistleblowers, dissenters, journalists. Remember, he called journalists the enemy of the people. This time, he's doubling down on all of it, and he doesn't have any guardrails. He's using the DOJ to go after his critics. He's demanded loyalty oaths like a frickin' mob boss. He's pressured the military in the past to use force on American citizens protesting police brutality. Remember that in 2020? Remember Lafayette Square? He's already encouraged political violence, January 6th being the biggest proof. Now, they're shipping people off, innocent people, to this gulag in El Salvador, and the Trump administration has defied judges' orders to bring them back. As we speak, this is being litigated right now. These poor innocent people are suffering in this prison, and the Trump administration doesn't give a damn. How is any of this okay? It's not. So when leaders start talking about stripping citizenship and then deporting their own people, they're not just making policy. This isn't just some policy decision. It's declaring war on their own people and war on democracy. That's what Hitler did in the 30s. He took German citizens, Jewish dissidents, opponents, and declared them the enemies of the state. They were stripped of their rights, their homes, their lives. Like I said, in Stalin's USSR, it was the same story. Loyalty to the leader became the law. Speak out, you were purged. Disagree, erased, disappeared. This isn't just history, folks. This is a roadmap, and Donald Trump is following it. This man has attacked every pillar of American government. The courts, smeared and attacked. Congress, demonized. The military, called suckers and losers. Public health, ignored during the pandemic. And we've got RFK Jr. now as our HHS secretary. Journalists, enemies of the people. Lawyers, intimidated. Election workers, harassed. Civil servants, mass fired or threatened. Private law firms, bullied into submission. This is not America first. This is Trump first, and everyone else last. Trump doesn't give a damn about you. He doesn't give a damn about his own MAGA people. He doesn't care about the Constitution or democratic norms and ideals. He doesn't care about America. He cares about his own power. And every single person who stands in his way is a target. He will turn on anyone the moment they stop serving his interests. just like the tyrants and authoritarians before him. You think MAGA supporters are safe? I'm talking to you, MAGAs. You think you're safe too? You're not. Ask Mike Pence. Ask the Capitol Police officers that Trump abandoned on January 6th. Ask the Republican elected officials who simply told the truth and were vilified and run out of office. So I ask again, what the hell are we doing, America? Why aren't there more elected officials screaming from the rooftops about this? Now, God bless Senator Cory Booker from my home state of New Jersey for his heroics last week on the Senate floor. God bless him. But we need more of that. Trump has already unleashed a second term of revenge and retribution and repression. And we're not even 3 months in, people. We're not even 3 months into this. Where are the Republicans who still believe in the Constitution and rule of law? Where the hell are they? Why isn't this story, the targeting of Americans, the deportation threats, the attack on the legal system, why isn't this on the front page everywhere? It should be. Not some throwaway story. This is a big deal. But here's the good news. Here's what's giving me hope. People are waking up. Last weekend, the Hands Off Our Rights protests brought out hundreds of thousands of Americans, and in some cases, millions across the world. There were over 1,200 cities and towns in America where the protests happened, and it didn't matter if you were from a red state or a blue state, folks stood united. We said, no, you're not going to take away our rights. You will not silence us. So listen to me. If you think they'd never come for me, you've got to wake up. Stand up, speak out, show up, and push your elected officials to fight back, because that's what it's going to take. We have to stand up now. For the Miles Taylors, for the Chris Krebs, for lawyers, for judges, for our federal workers, for our military, for ourselves. This isn't just Trump being Trump. This is how democracies die. But not if we stand up and fight. Stay loud, stay vigilant, stand strong. I'm Tara Setmayer, and that's my Setmayer Sound Off. Please like and subscribe. If you like what you've heard and want to hear more from me, check out my Uncompromised Substack, or check me out at the Seneca Project every Thursday at 7:30 on YouTube for my show, The Stakes, with my co-founder, Michelle Kinney. See you next week.
Thanks everyone for watching. Your support means the world to us. So make sure you hit the like button and you subscribe to our channel to make sure that you never ever miss a video. We're live every day, 10 a.m. Eastern time. We drop even more content at 2 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Eastern. And if you want more Don Lemon Show content, we'd love for you to become a member of the Lemon community, where you will receive access to special community posts. You'll get exclusive content and members-only live shows. So head over to our channel page or click the join button on this video. Again, thank you for watching. We appreciate your love and your support, and we will see you next time.